Waterloop.
I feel a little bit like a segment in Sesame Street being up here, that one where it's like one of these things is not like the others. And I've always kind of felt that way in water because I'm not an engineer, I'm not an executive, I'm not an operator, I'm not a regulator. I am not able to wow you with like the latest technology and how it works, or help you get a nap by giving you the latest policy update. I am a communicator, and what I can do is share my observations of what I've seen in that role. Communicators aren't usually speakers at conferences, especially in a prominent role like this. And so I give a ton of credit to the organizers for making this choice. And I also, think that it's a reflection of the increasing importance of storytelling and content to the work that we do in water. It's special for me to be here at this conference. I haven't been to a lot of them the past couple years as I've been traveling around filming water projects and people. So I am really happy to be in a room with water professionals. I have such great respect and admiration and awe really for the work you do every day to clean water, manage water, transport water, et cetera, et cetera. I've had such great experiences being up close with water professionals. As Tom mentioned, when I was working on Chesapeake Bay restoration, when I was at US EPA Office of Water, including working with Veronica and the Water Sense program, and then, yes, when I was at the Water Environment Federation, am I allowed to say that here in the AWWA room? And I've always just really been blown away and felt like that person in Sesame Street, right? All these other different people around me. Are there any other communicators in the room or outreach people? Okay, a few. Whew. All right, feel a little bit better about that. I think more needs to be done to celebrate the work that you do. So I actually just yesterday, Waterloop, in collaboration with Signs Water, which is an investment firm, have launched a new program.
We all know that our water world needs help. Whether it's droughts or floods, pollution or poor planning, aging infrastructure or insecurity, this essential resource is stressed like never before. But there are those who see the obstacles as opportunities. These individuals are driving change, disrupting norms, and doing good for water sustainability. Let's lift them up. Introducing Hydro 20, a celebration of 20 exceptional people making an extraordinary impact. Each year, a wide net will be cast, seeking out wave makers from every corner, from across professions, backgrounds, and geographies. We will shine a light on their stories and their solutions. Be ready to nominate. Be ready to celebrate. The Hydro 20 is here.
So I know there's a lot of awards in water. 2 great people received awards this morning, but like I said, I think we need to celebrate even more. There are so many great things happening, and so this program, Hydro 20, is just kicking off. We're building the selection committee this fall, and we're also building the organizations and companies that want to help support this. Nominations open in January, and then we will be traveling the country to film the stories of these people that are making waves in water. One of the things that spurred me to do this is also what spurred me to launch Waterloop, and that's that everything we hear about water seems to be doom and gloom. The news is so overwhelmingly negative. It's about the latest pollution problem, aging infrastructure, climate change, poor planning, whatever it might be. And that just dominates the headlines. And I think there's big problems with that that skewing of the news. First of all, it just takes the wind out of the sails. It's hard for people, including the public, to be motivated when all they hear is the doom and gloom. It's also not an accurate reflection of the reality out there. You all work in communities where good things are happening, and you know that everything is just not bad. And also, if we're not sharing the solutions, then how can other people learn lessons and copy and make progress based on how others have figured things out? And so that's what led me to launch Waterloop. It's a nonprofit news outlet that's focused on exploring the solutions journalism, especially focused on sustainability and equity in water. And I do that through podcasts, videos, and social media content. Now, the past couple years, I have been really fortunate to go around the United States and visit a lot of the people and projects, places where good things are happening in water, and it's really inspiring. During this time, I have, diversified my experiences. It hasn't been so utility and focused on this sector. I've been able to get out on rivers and go to coastlines and get into communities and meet with a lot of different types of people. And it really showed me an important lesson, and that's that, there's still these silos in water. There's a lot of talk about One Water, and a lot has been done when it comes to wastewater and drinking water and stormwater being more closely coordinated. But there's these other pillars out there, the conservation enviro community, those people that are working out there in nature. There's really these community groups that are on the ground in neighborhoods and in cities and towns, in rural places that are just trying to help the people when it comes to water. And then there's really the whole recreation side. There's that way that people have water in their lives, whether it's surfing or kayaking or paddling or hiking along rivers. There's that whole ecosystem. And so the best One Water solutions I've seen come when those silos are not there and different organizations are working together. I think there's some great examples. I heard there's people from the Water Now Alliance here and Pacific Institute. So not the traditional utility space. There's starting to be this crossover, and that's key. I'm gonna come back to that a little bit. So what I'm gonna do for the bulk of my talk is really be a reporter and share what I've seen as I've gone around the country and talk about the commonalities of sustainable solutions. And each of my examples, each of my areas is gonna have some utility content, but also some of those other aspects that I just referenced. So when it comes to sustainable solutions, the thing that I'm seeing over and over again is this return to nature. Using nature-based solutions in a variety of ways. It's kind of amazing that it's, we spent maybe the past century or more undoing nature's processes, and now we're trying to get them working again. So this is the construction of the Mid-Barataria Sediment Diversion in Louisiana. Everyone's heard how Louisiana is losing so much coastline because of erosion. That's happened because the Mississippi River was cut off from flowing where it always had. So now they're spending $3 billion to create this diversion and allow them to move water back into this basin to regrow land, like nature always did. So this is at the LSU Center for River Studies. They have this incredible model of the lower Mississippi, and this shows south of New Orleans where they're gonna be, controlling the river, letting it build back land. 20 square miles they're gonna build, but 2,000 square miles have been lost. So just a drop in the bucket. Also in New Orleans, connected to the utility side, they have embraced a living with water approach. They're like, we cannot just get rid of the water. We have to learn to live with it. So the public sector down there is investing heavily in green infrastructure all across the city. Community groups are working with residents to put even in small-scale solutions on their property, tearing up the sidewalk and putting in permeable surfaces. And then they're looking to create these big parks where water can go during heavy rainfall and be there and and not damage property. So it's a very interesting, again, embracing nature. This is the Grand River in Grand Rapids, Michigan, except there's no rapids anymore. Maybe it was like 100 years ago, there was a flood, and they decided to kind of wall off the river and rip out all of the boulders and rocks that created those rapids. That sounds like a lot of work. Now they're spending $300 million to rewild the river, essentially, to put rocks and boulders back in the water to return the rapids to the city. They're also going to be doing a lot with the shorelines to provide public access and kind of turn back towards the river as the heart of the community. Another living, return to nature type of solution. Another theme that I'm seeing as I go around the country is this really embrace of doing projects that have people at the center. As different organizations are looking to develop sustainable solutions, do water projects, people have more of a focus than ever. So, and that includes listening to what the community wants. Time and time again, I'm hearing from people that at the start of their projects, they are going to the citizens and asking for their feedback. What matters to them? What do they want in their community? What are the problems that they are facing? There's also just an increasing emphasis on caring for the health of the people in the communities. You all do this every day, right? That's the focus of your work. It seems to be somehow having an even more elevated place in these solutions. For the people also means the workforce development side. Really great efforts with young professionals in water. In this case, this is Milwaukee, and what's happening here is not uncommon. As they're working to replace lead pipes, Milwaukee has a requirement that at least 40% of the contractor hours are conducted by small or minority or women-owned businesses. And they have to have an apprentice as part of their workforce that is a minority or a woman. And they're far exceeding those percentages. I think they're over 50% now. And this is happening in a lot of communities, and it's a key part of making sure the investments in sustainable solutions kind of reverberate for the people in those communities. Same thing here. This is actually in a swamp in Louisiana. They have an initiative called the Gulf Corps, and it's bringing young people in for these 6-month stints where they learn about environmental restoration, work on actual tangible projects, and then over half of them are actually getting full-time jobs working in the environmental field in some way. Again, seeing these type initiatives out there. Another big theme is multi-benefit. So you're not just going to do a project to solve one problem, but you're looking for win-win-win-win-win across the board. So this is Tucson, Arizona, and they have 2 wastewater plants there, Agua Nueva and Tres Rios. I did it. And their effluent is going back into a wetlands, the Tres Rios wetlands, and it's going into the Santa Cruz River. That Santa Cruz riverbed has been dry, completely dry. Now 8 million gallons a day are going back into that river, bringing it back to life. So those wetlands, that river, they've created an incredible birding habitat, places where people can go walk their dogs. Again, getting water back in the river at the same time that wastewater treatment plant is doing its job. This is the brand new Davidson Park in Milwaukee. Milwaukee is investing a lot in green infrastructure. This is a partnership, a public-private partnership where they're building all kinds of green infrastructure across the city. And this park that just opened is able to capture 1.5 million gallons of stormwater a year. At the same time, it is an incredible public amenity for people just to hang out, for events like this, and for people to unknowingly park their Harleys on permeable pavement. You know, I was like, I wanted to ask a bunch of those guys, like, do you know what you're parked on right there? Super multi-benefit project. California, like a lot of the West, has major water issues. And the government has, I think, put out about $90 million for multi-benefit land repurposing. The land can't keep getting used the way it is. They have to find ways to capture water when it does rain and get that water in the ground. This is part of complying with the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. This place is an example. This is Cahuilla Oaks Preserve outside of Visalia in central California. And they took an old plum orchard and converted it to where a nearby waterway, when it has water in it, they can get that water out of that waterway onto the land, let it soak in. The rest of the time, awesome place to go walk your dog. They have school groups come out there for education, multi-benefit. In California, because of the groundwater situation, there's estimates that like 1 million acres of agriculture have to come out of production as part of getting like a sustainable groundwater situation. There are farmers now that are doing projects like this okay, I can't have all my land to grow food anymore, and they're creating these recharge basins and actually getting that water out of when it rains or when there's the irrigation canals are really full. They're getting that water out of there, putting it in these areas, letting it recharge their groundwater. So multiple benefits. And also, the other big benefit is this creates great habitat for wildlife and birds. And out in these rural areas, they really care about that stuff. A lot of them are hunters, fishermen, and want to do this kind of good work. Climate resilience. Everybody talks about this, and it is an incredible thread that runs through all of the solutions that I've seen around the country. Sea level rise is happening. It's coming up. San Francisco, to protect their waterfront, I think it's a 7-mile stretch of the San Francisco waterfront, they are going to spend $5 billion on a resilience plan to, raise walls, to build some levees and berms, have places where water can go, they have to raise seawalls, then they have to regrade parts of the city to keep that all at the same elevation. $5 billion is the price tag now, and they haven't even started. So I imagine that that's going to go up, 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 especially given all the factors you know about. This is a really cool one in Memphis where they built a riverfront park. This is Tom Lee Park. And one of the reasons they built it is that Mississippi River floods. And the water can come up by 50 feet or more in a severe flood. They needed a place to accommodate that type of water where it would be okay. So they built a green space that captures stormwater the rest of the time and has tremendous public amenities and benefits. But if that Mississippi really gets high, that water can sit in there. One of my most enjoyable and enlightening trips was to Iowa earlier this year. I went out to a half dozen farms, spoke with a half dozen different farmers, and what you hear on the news and on social media isn't really always the case. Shocker. All of these people proactively brought up climate change. All of these farmers in Iowa talked about what they have been seeing over the past bunch of years, how they didn't have to really water their fields because they got enough rain. Now they're getting these dry spells and they're having to adjust. They're having to adjust how they manage water. They're having to adjust their crops. They're having to try these new pilot projects so they can have climate resilience. Another thread that runs through things is this idea that it all adds up, meaning small little projects, small little changes, super hyper local pieces are okay. It all makes a difference. I think a lot about the Chesapeake Bay. That's where I kind of started. I'm a Maryland native, and that's been a long slog trying to get changes in the water quality for the Chesapeake Bay. It's taken project after project after project, a lot of upgrades to wastewater treatment plants, little stormwater capture features, projects on farms, but it's finally making a difference. And it's incredible that we're seeing in the metrics and the science, the Chesapeake Bay is finally responding to all of these measures that are starting to add up. Back in Tucson, this guy cut that curb right there. He used to go out and cut the curb illegally, he admits that, on Sunday mornings when there was no government around, to allow, when it would rain, that rain could come into his yard and get onto his property and help his trees and plants grow. And then other neighbors saw it and they're like, oh, let's do that. So they became this little renegade bunch going out there and cutting curbs. What happened out of that is Tucson now has a storm to shade program. That's one of the coolest green infrastructure programs in the country. And Brad Lancaster, through his little one curb cut, it led to this municipal program that's making awesome stuff happen in Tucson. This is the University of Washington Huskies Stadium in Seattle. It's right on the water, and they have to clean the place, and they do stuff even with nozzles on those sprayers. Again, little things add up and make a big difference. I'm seeing that everywhere. Little nozzles on those sprayers to help filter the water, and then a variety of measures that filter the water before it gets into Lake Washington there. Another big thread is this idea of value, return on investment. This is Horseshoe Lake by the community of East St. Louis. And East St. Louis is a disadvantaged community, and they have major infrastructure problems. They've got sewage coming up from below, and then they've got flooding from the Mississippi River coming in from above. And one of the solutions, in addition to fixing the pipes, is this construction of this lake that now, when the Mississippi River floods, the water comes in here instead of flooding the community of East St. Louis. So they spent, I think, $2 million on this, and within like a year there was a major flood, and they estimate that it prevented about $10 to $15 million in damage to East St. Louis. Return on investment. Philadelphia has decided to lean into green infrastructure instead of some of the big solutions for combined sewer overflows. They have 2,500 green infrastructure projects across the city. They're doing that instead of spending $8 billion on some of the big tunnels and that heavy infrastructure. And so they're pursuing that return on investment value piece. I mentioned the farmers. They're looking for new solutions. The landscape out there is dominated by corn and soybeans, but it turns out they can grow crops in between, especially the soybean crops, and get more value out of what they're doing. So this is, I think, barley that's growing in between rows of soybeans. They can harvest them in different ways. The farmer can sell that crop. It also helps reduce water loss off the fields by up to 50%. One farmer took this barley and used it in a special beer that they all kind of celebrated with. And the farmer was very happy to run that beer out to me at like 10 in the morning. I was happy to open it too. Water recycling, this is like so cool, so excited. So you all probably know that next year, El Paso is gonna be the first permanent place in the US with direct potable reuse, where they're taking the wastewater, cleaning it, and putting it back in the drinking water. I am so excited, and I hope that that breaks down a lot of the barriers and the stigma, and that water recycling can really expand. Salesforce Tower in San Francisco, the biggest building in the western United States, all of their black water and gray water is recycled on site in the basement of this building, 30,000 gallons a day. Now, San Francisco has really required this. They've got some great ordinances and driving this forward, but it's an example of what can happen. And this is one of my favorite shots. My guy Cody here got this with his drone. And actually, I should mention all the things we're showing you were filmed by Waterloop in the past 2 years. Also, I didn't expect to find water recycling as much in Iowa. They have a big source of the pollution to the Mississippi River is from the farm fields. The fertilizers and pesticides go down through the field, and they get collected by these drains. They're called tile drains. And then those usually just rush off to the nearest creek, stream, river. But now they are doing tile drain recycling. So they'll build a pond and they'll capture that water. And when it's dry in the end of the summer because of climate change, they can use that water to irrigate their crops. So they reuse the water. It also has a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus and so forth in it, so they can get that on the fields as well. Technology is running through everything. Very, very cool and promising. This is NASA and Google and Environmental Defense Fund collaborating to use satellite data to measure evapotranspiration on the ground. How much water is actually evaporating from the plants and coming up, so they can much more precisely and efficiently irrigate and manage water. They can track the evapotranspiration in a 30-foot by 30-foot area, 30-meter by 30-meter area. Using these similar tools to manage groundwater technology, this is the groundwater accounting platform where farmers and water managers are able to really have like a household budget with water. What's happening with the groundwater? What's going in? What's going out? What does this mean? ChatGPT, AI, it's here. It's inevitable. We got to just adapt to it. Don't put that off. Lean into it. So I used ChatGPT to create this avatar and asked it to pretend like it was a water expert and to say how AI is going to impact water. That's not a real person. That's just pixels on a screen. The voice is just generated out of AI. The information too. Really interesting. I was kind of surprised. I did a whole episode with Dr. Aqua, me interviewing her. And it didn't hit as big as I thought it would, so maybe go check that out now. It's exciting to see all these, it's exciting data centers. All of this is using a ton of water, big issues. But I guess I'm optimistic in that these companies are aware of that, and they know that there's pressure on them, and that has to be addressed. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Tesla is apparently building the Giga Waterloop in Austin because there's pressure on them with water use too. Giga Waterloop, if there's any attorneys here that want to help me kind of do a little copyright infringement, I'd like your assistance. The last thread is about connection, right? And I mentioned all of you in water, all these people I've interviewed have such passion for water. You care about it so much. And I think that is actually one of the best drivers of sustainability is your passion for the work you do. It takes me to my first episode of Waterloop. I interviewed Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, and he wrote a book called Blue Mind, and it's the science about how being near, on, in water affects us and our intrinsic connection to water. I think that is part of our motivation too. We are water people on a water planet, and that's driving us to care for it and for the sustainability. Dr. Nichols also Oops, sorry. Unfortunately, the world lost Dr. Nichols a few months ago, and one of the things that he would do would be to give people a blue marble, just to keep with them or put on their desk as a reminder of our connection to water and the need to be stewards of water. I actually have the one that he gave me a couple years ago here with me. He was my first guest. He was my 100th guest. And so I just wanted to kind of give that tribute to him. I have some bowls of blue marbles in the back if you want to take one with you as you go, just as a reminder again of water driving you. You know, I think that I encourage you to try to break down those silos with the other parts of water, right? Not wastewater, drinking water, stormwater, but the environmental side, the conservation side, the recreation side, the communities. I really also encourage you to tap into your personal connection to water and let that drive you. You know, all the technology and the tactics, the infrastructure and ideas, you know, that's the kind of the means for getting sustainability done. But I think it's your passion as water professionals, from what I've seen in my career and from traveling around the country, that's really driving sustainability forward and is going to take us to the future. Thank you.
You're in the Waterloop.